Hey there and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to bring you a little bit of a travel vlog. So I mentioned in my last podcast episode that when you're seeing it, I will be in Toronto for the weekend. And so I thought that I would put together a little travel vlog. I'm not sure if this is going to be the second video for April or if it's going to be kind of a bonus video. I'm kind of filming. It is April 4th. It is about 6:15 and it's been raining for the past 3 days, so it's pretty dark. Hopefully I can fix any lighting things, but all that aside, I wanted to sort of put a little vlog together for you all of my making on this trip, especially because we are hoping to visit some yarn shops while we're there. So I figured that I would actually sit down and do a proper vlog instead of like the little short ones that I put into some of my episodes. Um, so it is Thursday evening, as I just mentioned. I just got home from work. I'm finishing up the laundry so we can get packed and ready to go tomorrow, Friday. So myself, my husband, my sister, and my brother-in-law are all going up to Toronto for the weekend. So we're leaving tomorrow, Friday the 5th, and we are coming home on April the 8th. And the whole reason for this trip is so that we can go and see the Eclipse in Buffalo. So we're planning on driving straight into Canada tomorrow, and we're staying at an Airbnb through Monday morning, I should say. So we're gonna go to Niagara Falls. We're gonna explore Toronto. My brother-in-law has some family in the area, so we're gonna connect with them. And then early on Monday morning, we're gonna come back to the U.S. Hopefully be able to get a good spot in Buffalo so that we can see the eclipse. We're ready with our glasses and everything. And then after the eclipse, which is like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it should be done by like 4. We're going to drive straight home from Buffalo. So the drive to Toronto is about 8.5 to 9 hours. The drive from Buffalo should be about 6 hours. So we'll still get in late on Monday night. And then my husband and I both have off on Friday, so we can kind of rest and recuperate from the whirlwind weekend. But since we are going to be driving for so much time, I am packing a few things that I wanted to show you today. So that's where I want to start this video. And so the first thing that I want to show you, so you will have seen this in the podcast, and I just filmed the podcast a couple days ago. So I filmed it Sunday, today's Thursday, and I have finished my body on my April cardigan. So when you all last saw it, I had knit about 7 inches of the body, so I knit another 2 inches, and then I did my 4 inches of ribbing. And so now all I have to do is I'm going to do a double knit band on this one. So I'm actually going to pick up the stitches tonight. So I'm not trying to pick up stitches in the car. And so I'm going to pick up the stitches tonight. I don't think that I'll get to actually starting to knit the double knit band, but I'll pick up the stitches, I'll lay out where I want my buttons, and then on the trip I plan on doing the entire band for this one. So then the second project that I'm hoping to finish is the second of a pair of socks that I'm knitting with this Sabberball Crazy in the color Sternschnupp, which means shooting star in English. And so I've finished the first one. Actually, it's right behind you. Let me go ahead and grab it. So I finished the first sock already. Let's see. There we go. The lighting. This is not a good corner for me to do this, but it was easier than holding up the camera. So I finished the first one. I want to finish the second one. So that's 2 finished projects on this trip. And I actually think I'll be able to finish the cardigan on the way up and get a good bit of the sock done. So I can actually knit one sock a day if I'm doing a lot of knitting. So that's that. And then the third project I'm bringing with me is my test knit of the Springline tee for Samantha Guerin. And there's been no progress on this since you all just saw it in the podcast, because I pretty much set it aside for the drive and my needles are tinkling. But again, the lighting over here isn't great, so you're not going to be able to see it, but definitely go check out this month's podcast so you can check out my progress on this. So I think I have about another 7 inches to go on the body before the hem ribbing. And then, so I plan to probably just finish the body. And then, because I don't want to take too many extra needles, I'll probably just leave the neckband and the arm bands for when I come back. And then, because honestly, I know this kind of sounds a lot to bring for just a weekend, but again, we're going to be driving just the driving to and from. It's 20 hours worth of driving plus, you know, driving to Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is still like 2 hours from Toronto and like all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a lot of driving this weekend. So I know it seems like a lot of knitting, but I'm scared that I'm going to run out. So I took a few quick pictures so that I can document this on the gram before I balled up my skeins. But, and this kind of goes with the theme of not bringing any extra needles. I am going to, whoa, that looks bright on the screen, cast on for my second small fry scarf by Samantha Guerin, which is a part of the small fry scarf knit along that she is hosting over on Instagram and on Ravelry. And so the neckband on my April is going to be on 3mm needles. Obviously, the Springline tee already has the needles in there. And then I just have my US 1s or 2.5 DPNs that I'll knit the socks in. And then this I actually knit on 3mm needles last time around. So I'll use the same 3mm needles to knit this up. So I'm going to go ahead and ball this. And so this is North Bay Fiber Heritage Sport, which is 100% Tazhi Polypay, I think is how you say it. So let me, actually I probably should just do one. And this is in the color Holly. And so a little backstory, because of course, as always, this intro is way too long. A little backstory on this is I was chatting with Sam and I had originally meant to buy the Sonder Luxe Sport, which is their new yarn base, and I really wanted to try. And you can get the small fry scarf out of just one of those. So even though it's an expensive skein and I am kind of on a yarn buying ban, I figured if it's just one skein and I'm going to knit it up right away and use the whole skein, that would be fine. But shipping from Canada at the moment is pretty expensive. And so I think it's about 31 USD for the skein. And then shipping would have been $16, which is a lot of money. And I couldn't justify spending half of the amount of money just to ship one skein of yarn. So I was going back and forth with Sam about this because I was like, I really want a red one because I want to jump on the red bandwagon. So Emily of, I want to say her, yeah, Emily of the Botanical Knitter. I knew it was, I don't know, I'm sorry, Emily, I can't believe I just butchered your handle, but Emily of the Botanical Knitter and I want to say Amanda of My Yarn Journey both made red ones that I was just obsessed with. And then Sam said she was going to knit a red one, and then Tazhi said she was going to knit a red one. So of course I needed to knit a red one. all this to say, I told Sam about how like distraught I was about not being able to get the red, and I'd have to figure something else out. And I said maybe I'll pick up some red when I'm in Toronto. And she actually had a skein in her stash that she gifted to me, and then I just purchased the partner skein so that I can go ahead and finish the scarf. And I'm actually pretty sure that I'll be able to knit both the small fry scarf and an Oslo hat out of this yarn. If I did my math correctly. I may not have done my math correctly, but in any case, I went ahead and rehomed one of her skeins and then got a second one to complete the pair so that I can make myself a small fry scarf. So I guess that is it for the world's longest intro to a vlog. So I guess here on out, you'll just see lots of vlog footage probably for the next few minutes. And then I will come at you on the other side on Tuesday once we're back home and share with you everything that I was able to get knit up over the weekend. I'll probably also try to keep track of how many hours of actual knitting we're doing. My husband and I like to listen to audiobooks when we're in the car or podcasts. I've gotten him hooked on a few podcasts that I listen to that are true crime related podcasts. And so in that vein, we actually downloaded an audiobook of Paul Holz's book, Unmasked, My Life Solving America's Cold Cases, I think is the name of the book. I'll link it below. We went to a book signing. We got to meet him. He signed our books. I can actually see my husband's copy right over there. And we've both read bits and pieces of it, but we've not like read the whole thing through. And the audiobook is 9 hours long and it's read by him. So I'm really excited because I think that'll get us in like the podcasty true crime, but it's still an audiobook mood. And so that is what we have downloaded to listen to on the trip. And I guess I will see you soon. Okay, so we are going to end this vlog as chaotically as we started it. So hopefully you will have seen all the footage by now. As you can see, this was mainly a travel vlog and kind of a how much can I knit in a weekend type of thing rather than an actual knitting vlog because we were actually traveling and doing things. But I guess to recap, I'm in the same spot. Hopefully the light is a little better. I am filming in the morning before work this time. So again, just as chaotic. We're going to ignore the rumpled shirt. We have a bit of a heat wave these last few days. And we're going to ignore that my hair currently has two different cuts going on. I don't know what it's doing. So we're just going to ignore the chaos. And I'll give you a quick recap of my trip and I will show you what I picked out. So, yeah, driving up was a wild ride. We were driving through snow the whole time that we were driving up to Canada, and there was an earthquake back home, which we didn't feel, but everyone else felt. So that was interesting to get out of Jersey right before the earthquake came. But our first day there, I mean, we had a long drive. I think we drove for like 10 and a half hours with all of our stops, and we just had dinner that night. Then the next day was our Niagara Falls day, so we went out to brunch. You will have seen some footage of the food, which was delicious. And then we spent the day at Niagara Falls. We went to the casinos. We had dinner. No, we ordered dinner. So we ordered in and we had a game night. So you would have seen a little bit of that. We ended up buying a sort of a new Catan to us, or a new to us Catan board game, Settlers of America, I think it's called. And so we're very big into Catan, the siblings. So we bought that and we had a game night. And then the next day we did Toronto. We met up with my brother-in-law's cousin. We had brunch. We went to the aquariums. You will have seen lots of fishy goodness. My stop at Unit was very brief because I got there about 30 minutes before they were closing, so I didn't get tons of footage in the store, which is why you saw there was very little footage. However, I do have a reel over on my Instagram, so you can go check that out if you want to see a little tiny bit more of the store. And I'm actually going to show you what I got. And then the next day we woke up bright and early. We saw the eclipse and we started making the trek home. We ended up making a pit stop in the Catskills at my sister's house, her vacation house that, you guys have seen me film from. Just because there was way too much traffic trying to get out of New York, and then we came back home on Tuesday following. So lots and lots to do, lots happened, but let's get into the actual knitting. And so the first thing that I want to show you is the first thing that I finished, which is my April cardigan. And so, yeah, so if you remember, the night before we left, I picked up the double knit button band, and then I placed where I wanted my buttonholes to be. And then I knit about 2/3 to 3/4 of the button band on the way up. I forgot how much time double knitting takes. So the fact that this button band probably took me about 12 hours to knit altogether is pretty insane, when probably the majority of the cardigan probably didn't take me that long. I also did not sort of intend to knit an entire cardigan in 2 weeks. It kind of just worked out that way. And yeah, and then I blocked her, and I actually sewed on the buttons while I had a FaceTime date with my bestie on Sunday, so 2 days ago, and so it's done. I'm not going to go into all the details of the cardigan. I will put that in the monthly podcast, which will be going up 2 weeks after this video if you want to check that out. But this is the first thing that I finished on the drive, and I'll zoom in and show you the double knit button band. And so if you know the April cardigan, this cardigan actually has a 1x1 rib button band, but I just thought that the double knit was a little bit smarter and just makes it all that more elegant. So I'm really happy that I went with that decision. And so the second project that I finished was the second sock. So this sock was completely casted on. I won't say bound off because it was actually bound off when we were in New York, but I cast it on and I did most of the sock in Canada. So this was like my Canada driving knitting. So when we were in Niagara Falls, we were doing game night and stuff like that. And then I finished off the toe and grafted the toe while we were waiting for the eclipse in upstate New York. So this is the second sock here. And so now we have a finished pair of socks. And so again, this is the Zauberball Crazy. The color is 2292 Stern Schnoop. And I really love how these turned out. So perfect, I think, spring colors. So I'm really excited about that. Even though they're exactly the same, I think when I blocked one, I blocked it a tiny bit more aggressively. So even though they both have like the same foot length, one of them is slightly taller in the cuff. But I think that was just me being aggressive in my blocking. And then I did get started on my red small fry scarf. So this is what it looks like so far. Again, this is looking so bright on camera. But yeah, so I started this off and I knit to this stitch marker right here on the drive. So this is all that I knit. So I have knit a little bit more on it this week as well. So that's why you see the second stitch marker, but I wanted to show you all where I got to. So I think that's like maybe 5 repeats of the chart B that I got through. So I got a good amount done on this one. This one is pretty mindless. There's no purling. The textured stitch is created using a slip stitch and it's all garter stitch. So really nice mindless pattern. And so this is actually going to be my commuting knitting tomorrow, because even though I tend to like to commute with a sock, I think this is small enough that I can stick in my little sling bag that I wear and whip this out on the train if I get a seat in the morning. So those are the 3 projects that I actually ended up working on. If you remember, I took my springline tee with me and I didn't work on it at all. However, since the weekend, when I looked at the due dates and the fact that I think I sat down on Saturday and I was like, holy moly, the due date's a week and a half away. And I need to get this done. Especially because I'm going to be filming the May podcast early because I'll be traveling for work. I wanted to make sure I got pictures before even the due date, because sometimes I'll take pictures after the due date as long as it's like before the pattern is released. But I wanted to make sure everything was like blocked, pictures, everything was done before I filmed the next podcast episode, which is just like 2 days after the due date of this. But I hadn't knit anything on it, and then Saturday I like put pedal to the metal and I started knitting on it. And so I have finished the body. So if you recall, I had only done maybe like 3 inches after the separation for the sleeves. So I finished the body. I actually ended up lengthening the body by 1 inch. And again, all of this is going to be in like the podcast episode, so you can head on over there in terms of that. And then I have picked up and knit the neckband. So now I just need to do the 2 sleeve bands. And then I can block this one. So that's actually my plan for today, is to finish this one while I'm in meetings. And then I'm going to swatch for my next 2 projects that I'll have on the go. So really exciting stuff in terms of the knitting content. So, as I mentioned, I did stop by Unit while we were in Toronto, and Claudia's shop is absolutely stunning. I could have spent so much time in there, so it's probably a good thing that we were on a little bit of a time crunch. But I did pick up a couple of things, and so as you all know, I'm kind of on a low buy year, and souvenir and festival yarn or any yarn that I'm gifted is not counted in that. Otherwise, I'm not buying yarn, unless it's like if I have to buy yarn to like complete a project or something like that, that, obviously makes sense. But if it's just we're not buying yarn for new projects, it's just whatever we have in stash, or if we're gifted yarn or souvenir. And so after my successful Savannah trip in terms of buying yarn that I pretty much kind of knit up right away, other than the yarn festival that we're going to, I've kind of decided that when it comes to my souvenir yarn, I want to buy things that I can knit right away. So that again, it's not stuff that ends up in my stash. And then again, it's also, I can have this lovely memory of having knitted this project using souvenir yarn and kind of, have it done right away. So I did go into the store with one specific project in mind, which is a test knit that I'm going to be participating in for Alicia Plummer, of the Cloudy Day vest. So I think she's releasing the pullover if it hasn't been released already, but the vest is currently in testing, and that's going to be due in May. And so I knew I wanted to pick up yarn for that. And then while we were there, I also picked up yarn for an accessory because I figured an accessory is small. It's not going to be too much yarn, even if it stays around in my stash for a little bit. So I got two new to me brands that I've wanted to try forever. So I was really excited to be able to pick them up. And, with the Canadian to American exchange rate, it was much more decent. And then also, these are two brands in general that I think are marked up when you buy them in the US, versus when you buy them from a Canadian retailer or directly from Europe. So I wanted to take advantage of, the strong American dollar and the fact that, these were going to be a lot cheaper if I bought them in Canada than if I bought them in the US. So the first yarn that I bought is for the Cloudy Days vest, and I picked up some knitting for Olive. So I'm so excited. It's going to be my first time using KFO. And yeah, so in terms of the yarn, I picked up the heavy merino in the color Terracotta Rose. And the soft silk mohair, they didn't have the terracotta rose in stock, so I ended up picking up the plum rose, which is very close in color. So those are the yarns. And so I think I got 6 of the merino and 3 of the soft silk mohair. And so that will be enough for the vest. I'm just going to go ahead and do my gauge swatch. So I like to kind of try to batch block. So since I'm going to be blocking my springline tee, I'll block my gauge swatches for my next 2 projects, which is going to be this and my Slightly Sassy V by Amy Sher, which I've talked about in the last podcast. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is a really great color. I think this will be a great color to pair with my winter and spring and even fall wardrobe. So I just was kind of thinking of that, in terms of, even though I don't tend to wear a lot of color in the winter, I think this is a good spring and fall color. And then even in the winter, if I wanted to lighten up an outfit a little bit, this will be a good color for that. And then we all know that pink is a neutral. So although the other pink that I got is definitely not a neutral, this is a punchy one. And so I don't often knit very punchy colored accessories, but I do like to every so often. As you see, I'm, going red with the spring line, or not the spring line, with the small fries scarf. I have not had my coffee yet this morning. And so I wanted to go a little bit punchy with an accessory. They actually had Sari's book out while I was there. So the latest book, Softly, which you all know if you watch the podcast, I have a copy of. And so I was browsing through the book, trying to figure out what I wanted to get, and it was really close to, it was in front of the Esayer display, and so I decided to pick up some yarn to make the net beanie, or I'm not sure if it's netta beanie, but the cabled beanie that is in the book. And so I picked up some Esayer Alpaca 2, and this is just in the color 21, which is a really punchy pink color. It's definitely a little bit more punchy on camera too than it is in person, but it is muted, a little bit more muted than it looks on camera. And then again, they didn't have the exact color in the silk mohair, so I got a close enough color, although I think this color is going to tone down this pink a little bit, which is why I got this one too. And this is the silk mohair in the color 28. So this is what they look like next to each other. In person, the difference is not as stark as it appears on camera. And again, I will have to keep in mind, this is not a good corner for lighting, but I picked these up, and so these will make one beanie. Technically, I'm going to be playing a bit of yarn chicken based on the yardage recommended in the pattern. However, I did look up a few people's projects, and I did figure out that this is going to be enough, especially because I don't plan on making the palm in the same yarn. I'll probably do like a faux fur palm for the top of the hat. And then I did pick up a little accessory because why not? And sorry if you hear the crinkling of the bag. But we were just looking around, and this little tape measure caught my eye. And it's from a company called Mode, I think. Mod. Yeah, Mods. And it is just a little leather measuring tape. And y'all know I'm a sucker for whiskey colored leather. And what I liked about it is that it does have a clasp. So I can clasp it onto either my knitting bag or my keys or anything like that and use it on the go, and always have a little measuring tape on the go. So I picked that up as well. And I think everything was super reasonable with the exchange rate. I think I ended up spending $145 US, which I was like in shock when I saw like the number on my credit card statement. I was like, okay, that is a lot less than I thought, because I think it was like 197 Canadian or something like that, which still I think is a good deal for the amount of yarn and the types of yarn that I got. If I were thinking like in US dollars, that probably, if I were buying it from the US, that's probably what I would have spent for all of this in US dollars. So when I saw that it was 145 US, I was like over the moon. But yeah, I guess I can wrap up this bit of a hectic travel vlog. At this point, I am filming this Tuesday, a week after we got home, so it is going to officially be my second video of the month. I do have a few videos in the pipeline that I want to film, but they're going to take a little bit more time for me to film B-roll and things like that. So I cannot commit that there's going to be another video this month. I think this is just going to be it for the month. And then you will see me again for the monthly podcast in 2 weeks. So that's going to be, I think, May 3rd, 4th, 5th, May 5th, will be the monthly podcast episode. And I have lots of fun lots of fun things planned for the rest of the spring in terms of my upcoming content. So definitely be sure to stick around for that. And of course, if you like this video, do all the podcasty things, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you've been working on while you were watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, there are always ways that you can support the channel further in the description down below. But until the next video, I will leave you here and I'll see you then. Bye.